I'm Felicia Ferrara. I'm here to talk to you again about anger management. This is another section, and this one is on substance abuse. Okay? I'm sure you're aware that many unanticipated or unplanned events happen when someone is under the influence. If you happen to be one of those persons who indulges and doesn't quite sure why or where it's going to lead or what you expect to get out of that evening, you really might want to reconsider and decide to take better control of your choices, because across all states here in the United States, or majority, the reasoning is, or the logic and the statutes read, that if a person voluntarily takes a drug, then they are totally held responsible for whatever the outcome of their behavior from that drug is. Okay? So that means if you committed a crime, let's say you got high, decided to hold up a bank or a store, you're going to get the full break and enter. You're going to get the full bulk of the penalties, because the drug use is no excuse. Same thing if you are high or drunk when you are involved in a domestic violence pursuit, then you're definitely going to get the full blunt of the penalty, because you took the drug willingly. Okay? So say somebody, well, I didn't mean to do it. I'm not a bad person. I don't do those things. I just was high. Well, being high is no excuse. You got high on purpose. So you know you're losing control when you take that drug. When you ingest a drug, it's like saying to the universe, do what you want with me, because anything it can happen, anything at all. So since we're talking about relationships, I want to bring up the substance abuse impact on domestic violence relations, okay? Because the United States has been identified as the most preponderance of violence under the influence, or so it shows by our records, but 55% of incident rates with domestic violence occur under the influence of a substance, okay? Typically alcohol. Each substance has a different impact on different people, but the more you indulge, sure enough, the more you're going to lose control. If you're using harsher drugs like stimulants, you definitely are capable of doing more egregious acts than you can even imagine. And I have personally witnessed it in the forensic setting, where otherwise pretty decent people got themselves high. Maybe they had a drug addiction problem, but they weren't necessarily a murderer or a killer, but in fact, under the influence of a stimulant, they did commit murder. Okay? So now what's going to happen is, as you can imagine, they're pulled away from their family. Financial ruin usually comes to the family. A very complicated legal procedure begins, and the person inadvertently ends up in jail for many, many years. And this is all because they indulged in substances. So if you happen to be the kind that loses control normally or typically even without substances, and then you compound your issues by using substances, that's no excuse in the eye of the courts. So therefore, you will get the full blunt of the punishment. And it's devastating. Lives are ruined because of that one incident when you went out all night and got high. Perhaps the worst drug of all is a spice, or K2, as they call it in some places. It has permanent damage, or it leaves permanent damage on individuals' neurological functioning. So this could lead to mental health issues, schizophrenia, hallucinations, or it could lead to cognitive damage where the person no longer functions at the intellectual level they once had. And this all occurs within getting a bad batch, or taking too much, or burning yourself out on it, whether it's that. And of course, methadone is a whole nother, methamphetamines are a whole nother problem with drug taking, and it ages you so rapidly. Cocaine and methamphetamine both age you. It escalates the aging process probably triple, if not more than that, because I've seen it myself where beautiful young people come in at maybe 25, and they're doing drugs. And I will see them again when they're arrested again in 5 years or 7 years. And they've aged tremendously from what the first appearance was. So, yes, you are basically eating away your own body when you're taking drugs, especially stimulants. So, and of course, we all know with alcohol, the physical damage to liver is um, irreparable, and that's all there is to it. So you're definitely wiping out and taking years off your life by doing either stimulants or alcohol overindulgence. And for some people has a different tolerance level, so your body may not be able to take more than maybe a few hits of a heavy drug. Whereas another person might be able to tolerate more, and they'll encourage you to keep going and do some more drugs with them. But under the influence, I promise you, if you avoid it, you're better off, because you can't hear your inner voice telling you there's danger ahead when in fact you're stoned or high or under the influence of alcohol. So all your guarding, typical natural primal guardianship kind of inner dialogue is destroyed by the drugs, by the use of the drugs. It is hidden, suppressed. It is not understandable. So what do? You let yourself go. You're totally out of control, and the universe does what it wants with you. If it is a domestic violence issue that's going on and you're high, you may very well harm your spouse or your partner or yourself in the process of having a debate or an encounter. So it's very disheartening to know that of all the homicides that occur under domestic violence issues, 55% occurred because of alcohol. Okay, so if you are the one that's volatile and drunk, then your spouse may get hurt, or you may frighten your spouse so much that they actually have to take action and defend themselves, and you'll get hurt. Either way, you're not going to win. Either way, you're going to lose big. You have potential to lose your family, a loved one. You have potential to lose the roof over your head. Your housing is gone, your finances are gone, your career is gone. And if you are arrested for a very serious crime, felony, any level, you will be arrested and sentenced, possibly to the maximum that is possible with that charge. So don't kid yourself that, oh, I have a drug problem, I'm addicted, or I had underlying mental health issues. That doesn't matter. The fact is you took the drug, and the drug escalated your behavior problems, and now there's consequences to pay for it. So you will end up paying for it, okay? And I really, it breaks my heart when I see young people, 25, 30 years old, facing 25-year sentences because they went out and got drunk that night. And the other side of that is I've also seen individuals extremely injured, possibly losing a limb, losing an eye in a fight when they're drunk. So being inebriated, well, it sounds great. Oh, let loose. Let me go out there and party hard. When you're out there partying, any element of a problem can happen. And one young man that actually made a comment about somebody's girlfriend in a bar, and he was unfortunately injured, where all the socket bones in his eye were fractured, and the eyesight was gone, and a prosthesis had to be put in place. All because he was drunk. He was so drunk he didn't know who did it to him. So you see what happens? You lose total control. And so you need to take charge. You need to take control of yourself and cut it out before you lose all your privileges of life. Freedom is a privilege. And the fact that you have it is only because you're of no threat to the public. The minute you become a threat to the public, you will be incarcerated. And unfortunately, with substance use, this occurs way too often in encounters between intimate partners. So it doesn't matter whether you're married, cohabitating, a paramour, however you refer to your fiance, whatever you want to call it, these people that you are emotionally kind of tied to in complicated relationships develop out of it. But when your discussions become emotionally heated, anything can happen. So, whether you are the aggressor who's doing the drinking and possible physical abuse, or you are the victim, either one of you can react spontaneously on the night of an argument if you're both out of control. If the party who's drunk is out of control or drugged, and then the other party is not so much drugged, you better run as well, because either you are going to get so upset in self-defense you may stab a person or shoot a person, never intending to. Maybe a possibly good person, maybe just really quiet in other case. And even though you claim it's a case of self-defense, if you were also under the influence, that's going to be taken with a grain of salt. So you better beware. And I'm trying to warn young people because I've seen too many that are behind bars for substance abuse related crimes. And yes, in the jail, you will get drug rehab. You will be forced to go. You will have other consequences, other programs to complete. But the problem is, it all could have been avoided if you just avoided the substance abuse. Okay? So I'm saying this to both the parties, as I said, both the aggressor and the potential victim. It's essential that you do not overindulge in substance abuse or try to discuss important family matters while you're under the influence of substance abuse. Okay? So in domestic violence issues, believe it or not, alcohol is prevalent in 55% of those cases. And the costs financially to the country at large is $12.6 million. Yes, $1 million for hospital care, potential surgery needed because of the abuse, ongoing court fees, ongoing survival fees for people who are permanently injured. And so on and on we can go. All the more reasons, if you're going to have a discussion with a loved one, do it when you're sober, by all means. If you can't interact together rationally, then get a third-party objective person, a professional. There's plenty of community agencies. If you're financially strapped or whatnot, you can certainly get help by that. But it's important that you, as whether you're the victim or the potential aggressor, that you speak out and get help now while you still can. Okay? Every community across the United States has a domestic violence center, and there are all shelters, there are counselors, there are pro bono attorneys if you need a lawyer for a divorce, not for the criminal. For criminal offenses, you'd probably have to get a public defender, and there's a minimal fee for that, depending on where you live. But in any case, you just caused yourself a whole mushroomed problem, all because you wouldn't stop drinking or indulging in drugs. So find your way. There's everything. You have to do it in moderation. But the important thing is that you do find a way to learn self-control for yourselves. If it's so bad that you feel you have an addiction problem, then you need to sign into a rehab facility. Okay? For those of you out there who are a victim of domestic violence because of anger management, you can call the National Domestic Violence Center hotline at 800-799-SAFE, SAFE, which is 7233. It's very important that you get the help you need before a much worse issue develops if either of you are not abiding by. A much worse volatile issue can occur if you as a couple cannot negotiate appropriately, cannot discuss things appropriately, or under the influence. You can save yourself a lot of trouble by seeking out assistance now before somebody gets seriously hurt, and dire consequences occur for both. Now, again, this is part of our anger management series on substance abuse. This is a very precursory discussion of substance abuse. And if you have addiction problems, we urge you to call the National Coalition on Drug Abuse as well. And you need to get yourself into a place as soon as possible. Sometimes we have to stop and take a break and recollect ourselves in life, and that's important. So, all I can do is stress to you that the indulgence in substance abuse at a point where you're going to have a discussion with your loved partner or your significant other, it just doesn't go together. You need to be calm, collected, and rational before you begin your debates. If you're hurting each other, if there's infidelity, if there's volatility, if there's a volatile relationship between the two of you where there's been numerous fighting, by all means, step out and get control of the anger management. You definitely need it, okay? It can save the rest of your life. Everybody loses. If somebody's harmed, God forbid you kill your spouse or partner, your children will end up parentless. So I hope you're listening. I've seen so much of it that I cannot stress it enough to get yourself help as quick as possible if you are addicted at this point or if you are the victim of domestic violence. Please, we all need to help to get that anger management under control. All right? All right. Good luck to you. And please let the right people know. Reach out. Call your community office. Your local number would be 216 for most communities. That's the clerk that will get you social services listing. Okay? There's plenty of free community centers for counseling. And there's always domestic violence shelters in every location possible. Okay? All right. Good luck. Life is too short to waste. We all know that now. How quickly people lost loved ones through the COVID trials and tribulations. All right. If you need more references, just give me a shout. My email is Felicia@FeliciaFerrara.com. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up below and subscribe to my station because I'm going to give very positive talks on how couples can avoid significant loss. Okay? All right. God bless and walk in light at all times. References are going to be supplied at my last ending card. Please stay posted. There you go. Domestic violence and substance abuse references.